The diplomatic station orbiting Kepler 442b had never hosted anything like this before. Ambassador Jektar of the Galactic Council watched through reinforced viewing ports as the massive transport ship approached. Inside that vessel was Vex Thala, the Crimson Death, the most feared predator in known space. "Are you absolutely certain about this, Ambassador?" asked Dr. Rylin, the station's chief xenobiologist. Her blue skin had turned pale with worry. "That creature has destroyed entire fleets. It ate the population of 3 mining colonies just last year." Jektar's tentacles writhed nervously. "The human delegation insisted. They claim their child can communicate with any species, even Vexathala." The transport ship docked with a thunderous clang that shook the entire station. Every being aboard felt their blood run cold. Through the corridors, emergency lights began flashing as the station's sensors detected the dragon's massive life signature. Vexathala emerged from the transport bay like living nightmare. The dragon stood nearly 30 feet tall, with scales that gleamed like fresh blood under the station's lights. Each breath sent clouds of superheated air into the corridor. Its eyes burned with an ancient intelligence that had watched civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. The creature's presence was overwhelming. Several Zephyrian diplomats fainted on the spot. A group of crystalline ambassadors shattered their emergency containment suits in terror. Even the usually fearless Korak warriors backed away, their massive frames trembling. "Where are the humans?" Vexthala's voice was like grinding mountains, each word dripping with barely contained violence. "I was promised an interesting meal." The dragon's massive head swiveled, scanning the assembled delegates with predatory focus. Its nostrils flared, tasting the fear in the air. Several beings tried to run, but Vexathala's roar froze them in place. "Present yourselves, humans," the dragon bellowed. "Let me see what passes for apex predators in this pathetic galaxy." Ambassador Jektar stepped forward on shaking legs. "Great Vexthala, the human delegation is—" "They should arrive momentarily. Perhaps we could discuss the terms of our meeting while we wait." The dragon's laugh was like breaking glass mixed with thunder. "Terms? Little worm, I am not here for negotiations. I am here because these humans claim they can tame me. Me. I have devoured the hearts of 1,000 worlds. I have turned entire star systems to ash with my breath. What could possibly make them think—" The corridor's main door slid open with a soft hiss. 2 figures walked in. The first was clearly an adult human female wearing simple diplomatic robes. She had brown hair tied back and walked with confident steps. But it was the second figure that made every being in the corridor question their sanity. A human child. A tiny human child. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 Earth years old. She had bright golden hair and pigtails and wore a simple blue dress with small flowers printed on it. In her arms, she carried a stuffed animal that looked remarkably like a miniature dragon. Vexathala's massive head tilted in confusion. "What is this? Where are the warriors? Where are the weapons?" "Where is the challenge I was promised?" The adult human smiled calmly. "Greetings, Vexathala. I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. This is my daughter, Emma." The little girl looked up at the towering dragon without a trace of fear. Her eyes were wide with wonder, not terror. She hugged her stuffed dragon tighter and took a small step forward. "Wow," Emma said in a clear, sweet voice. "You're really big. Are you the dragon everyone's scared of?" The silence in the corridor was absolute. Even the station's life support systems seemed to hold their breath. Vexathala stared down at the tiny human with an expression that no being had ever seen on the dragon's face before. Complete bewilderment. "Child," Vexthala's voice had dropped to barely above a whisper, but it still shook the walls. "Do you not know what I am? Do you not understand that I could end your existence with a single breath? Emma tilted her head to one side, considering this seriously. My mommy says scary-looking people are usually just lonely or sad. Are you lonely, Mr. Dragon? The dragon's eyes narrowed to burning slits. I am Vexithala the Crimson Death. I am the devourer of worlds. I am the nightmare of the void. I am not lonely. But something in the dragon's voice wavered. For the first time in millennia, Vexithala sounded uncertain. Emma nodded sagely. That's a really long name. Can I call you Vex? And look. She held up her stuffed dragon. This is Mr. Snuggles. He's a dragon too, but he's nice. Would you like to meet him? The assembled aliens watched in stunned silence as the most dangerous predator in the galaxy lowered its massive head to examine a child's toy. Vexithala's enormous eyes focused on the small stuffed animal with an intensity usually reserved for prey. This, Mr. Snuggles? He is meant to represent my kind? Uh-huh, Emma said brightly. Mommy bought him for me when I was scared of the dark. She said dragons protect special treasures, so Mr. Snuggles protects me when I sleep. Ambassador Jektar felt his 3 hearts stop beating. The child was talking to Vexithala like the dragon was a friendly neighbor. Either this human offspring was the bravest being in the galaxy, or the most foolish. Vexithala straightened to full height again. Protect? Child, dragons do not protect. We destroy, we consume, we rule through fear and fire. Emma's face scrunched up in thought. But that sounds really lonely. Don't you have any friends? Friends? The concept seemed to physically pain the dragon. I have no need for such weakness. I am Apex. I am alone by choice. That's really sad, Emma said softly. Everyone needs friends, even scary dragons. The little girl took another step forward. Her mother reached out as if to stop her, then seemed to think better of it. The other diplomats held their breath. Would you like to be friends with me, Vex? Emma asked with the simple sincerity that only children possessed. I promise I'm a very good friend. I share my cookies and I know lots of good games. Vexithala's massive form went completely still. For long moments, the only sound was the dragon's deep, rumbling breathing. When it finally spoke, its voice was softer than anyone had ever heard. You wish to befriend me? The Crimson Death? I wish to befriend Vex, Emma corrected gently. Because I think under all those scary names, you're probably really nice. The dragon's head lowered again, bringing its face close to the child. Emma could feel the heat radiating from Vexithala's scales, could see her own reflection in those ancient, burning eyes. Any rational being would have run screaming. Instead, Emma smiled and reached out one small hand toward the dragon's snout. The corridor erupted in chaos as every alien present either fled, fainted, or began praying to their respective deities. But Ambassador Chen stood her ground, watching her daughter with a mixture of terror and pride. Vexithala stared at the tiny hand approaching its face. For the first time in its long existence, the dragon felt something it had never experienced before. Uncertainty about whether to kill or be killed was not the question. The question was whether to accept the first offer of friendship it had received in 3,000 years. Emma's small hand touched Vexithala's snout with the gentle confidence of a child who had never learned to fear the impossible. The dragon's scales were warm, not burning hot as everyone expected, but pleasantly warm, like a sunny rock. Your skin feels nice, Emma said with a bright smile, like the heater in my room back on Earth. Vexithala went rigid. In 3,000 years of existence across hundreds of worlds and countless battles, nothing had ever dared to touch the Crimson Death with affection. The dragon's eyes, each larger than the child's entire head, focused on Emma with an intensity that should have been terrifying. You are not afraid, Vexithala whispered, voice barely audible, but still making the station's walls vibrate. "Why are you not afraid?" Emma kept her hand on the dragon's snout and tilted her head thoughtfully. "Should I be? You haven't hurt anyone since I got here, and your eyes look sad, not mean." The observation hit Vexathala like a plasma torpedo to the chest. Sad. The devourer of worlds. The creature that had single-handedly ended the Corvan Empire was sad? Around them, the surviving diplomats watched in absolute silence. Ambassador Jektar's 3 mouths hung open in shock. Dr. Relan was frantically taking readings with her scanner, trying to understand what was happening. The readings made no sense. Vexathala's biosignatures were showing patterns they had never seen before. "I have destroyed civilizations," Vexathala said slowly, as if trying to convince itself more than the child. "I have turned star systems to ash. I am the nightmare that haunts the galaxy's dreams." Emma nodded seriously. "That does sound really scary, but why did you do all that? Were you angry about something?" The question was so simple, so direct, that it cut through 3 millennia of accumulated rage and isolation like a knife through butter. Vexathala's massive form shuddered. "Angry?" The dragon's voice cracked like breaking stone. My kind was hunted, killed. The galaxy decided we were too dangerous to live. So I became what they said I was." Emma's expression softened with the easy empathy of childhood. "That's really sad, Vex. I'm sorry people were mean to you." The sincerity in her voice was devastating. Vexathala, who had withstood the combined firepower of entire fleets without flinching, felt something crack deep inside its ancient heart. "You should not apologize for things you did not do, little one." "But I can still be sorry that you got hurt," Emma replied matter-of-factly. "That's what friends do." The word friends hung in the air like a foreign concept that the universe was still trying to process. Around the corridor, aliens began to cautiously emerge from their hiding spots, drawn by a fascination they couldn't explain. Ambassador Chen finally found her voice. "Emma, sweetheart, maybe we should—" "It's okay, Mommy," Emma said, without taking her eyes off Vexthala. "Vex isn't going to hurt anyone. Are you, Vex?" The dragon stared at the child for a long moment. Then, with infinite care, it lowered its great head until it was resting on the floor beside Emma. The gesture put the dragon at the child's eye level, though Vexathala's head was still easily 3 times larger than Emma's entire body. "No, little Emma," Vexathala said softly. "I will not hurt anyone while you are here." Emma clapped her hands together with delight. "I knew it. You are nice. Want to see something cool?" Before anyone could stop her, Emma sat down cross-legged on the floor, right next to the dragon's massive head. She pulled Mr. Snuggles into her lap and began to whisper to the stuffed animal as if it were alive. "Mr. Snuggles says he's happy to meet a real dragon," Emma announced. "He wants to know if you breathe fire like in the stories." Vexathala's eyes shifted to the stuffed toy. Mr. Snuggles speaks to you." "Of course. Don't your toys talk to you?" The innocent question revealed a chasm of loneliness so vast that even the hardened diplomats in the corridor felt their hearts ache. When had Vexathala last played? When had the dragon last known joy instead of rage? "I have never owned toys," Vexathala admitted quietly. Emma gasped in genuine horror. "Never? Not even one? That's terrible! Everyone needs toys." She hugged Mr. Snuggles tighter. "Here, you can share Mr. Snuggles with me. He likes making new friends." She held the small, stuffed dragon out toward Vexathala's enormous snout. The sight was surreal beyond description, a tiny human child offering her most precious possession to the galaxy's most feared predator. Vexathala stared at the offering for a long moment. Then, With a delicacy that defied physics, the dragon extended one massive claw and gently touched the stuffed animal. The claw was easily twice the size of the toy, but Vexathala's touch was softer than a whisper. "He is soft," Vexathala observed with wonder, "and warm from your touch." "That's because he's full of love," Emma explained with the absolute certainty of a 7-year-old. "Mommy says love makes everything better." Ambassador Jektar found himself wiping away tears he didn't know he could cry. Around the corridor, other diplomats were having similar reactions. They were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history, the taming of the untamable through nothing more than genuine kindness. "Emma," her mother said gently, "perhaps we should let Mr. Vex rest. He's had a long journey." "Oh, are you tired, Vex?" Emma asked with immediate concern. "Do you need a nap? I know a really good song for sleeping." Before anyone could protest, Emma began to sing in a clear, sweet voice. It was a simple lullaby from Earth, something about twinkle stars and peaceful dreams. Her voice echoed in the metal corridor, transforming the sterile space into something warm and safe. Vexathala's eyes began to close as the child sang. For the first time in millennia, the dragon felt peaceful. The constant rage that had driven it across the galaxy began to quiet, replaced by something it had forgotten existed. When Emma finished her song, she noticed that Vexathala's breathing had become slow and regular. The dragon wasn't quite asleep, but was closer to rest than it had been in centuries. "Feel better?" Emma whispered. Vexathala's eyes opened just enough to look at her. "Yes, little one. I feel different." "Good different?" "Very good different." Emma beamed with pride. "I told you friendship makes everything better." She paused, then asked with sudden concern, "Are you hungry? I have some cookies in my backpack. They're chocolate chip." The offer of cookies to the devourer of worlds was so absurd that several diplomats began to giggle despite themselves. But Vexathala considered the question seriously. "I have not eaten such things," the dragon admitted. "My diet has been different." Emma's face scrunched up in thought. "Different how?" Ambassador Chen quickly stepped in. "Emma, why don't we save that conversation for later? I think our new friend might enjoy seeing more of the station." But Emma had already moved on to her next idea. "Vex, do you want to play a game? I know lots of fun games." "Games?" Vexathala repeated the word like it was from an alien language. "I do not understand this concept." Emma's eyes went wide with shock. "You don't know any games? Oh, we have to fix that right now." She jumped to her feet and began to pace in front of the dragon's massive head, clearly planning something. The assembled diplomats watched with a mixture of fascination and terror as the child prepared to teach the galaxy's most dangerous predator how to play. "Okay," Emma announced. "First we're going to play hide and seek. You close your eyes and count to 10, and I'll hide somewhere, then you try to find me." The idea of Vexathala the Crimson Death playing children's games was so preposterous that it broke several alien minds on the spot. But the dragon was listening with rapt attention. "And if I find you? Then it's my turn to seek, and your turn to hide." Vexathala's massive head tilted. "I am 30 feet tall and weigh several tons. Where exactly would I hide in this station?" Emma giggled. "That's what makes it fun. You have to be creative." And in that moment, watching a human child explain the rules of hide and seek to the most feared predator in known space, every being present realized they were witnessing the beginning of something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 hours had passed since Emma Chen had walked into the diplomatic corridor and turned the galaxy's understanding of power on its head. The scene that greeted any newcomer to the station would have been impossible to believe just days earlier. Vexathala the Crimson Death, terror of 1,000 worlds, was lying on the floor with its massive head pillowed on a stack of diplomatic cushions. Emma sat beside the dragon's snout, carefully braiding small sections of the creature's crimson mane while telling stories about her pet goldfish back on Earth. "And then Mr. Bubbles jumped right out of his bowl," Emma was saying animatedly. "Daddy had to catch him with the little net before he flopped onto the kitchen floor. Fish are funny, but they're not very smart about staying in water." Vexathala listened with the focused attention of a creature that had discovered wonder for the first time in 3 millennia. "Your Mr. Bubbles sounds brave, if foolish." "Just like you used to be," Emma declared with a giggle. The dragon's eyes widened in surprise. "I beg your pardon?" "You were brave when you fought all those mean people who hurt your family," Emma explained matter-of-factly, still working on her tiny braids. "But you were also kind of foolish because fighting never really makes the hurt go away. It just makes more hurt." The profound simplicity of her words hit Vexathala like a cosmic revelation. Around the corridor, the assembled diplomats, now numbering in the dozens as word had spread throughout the station, nodded in amazement. A human child had just summarized thousands of years of galactic conflict theory in a single sentence. "You are remarkably wise for one so small," Vexathala murmured. Emma shrugged. "Mommy says children see things clearly because we don't make everything complicated yet." Ambassador Chen, who had been quietly observing from nearby, felt her heart swell with pride and terror in equal measure. Her daughter was casually philosophizing with a creature that could destroy planets, and somehow making perfect sense. Dr. Relin approached with her scanner, still trying to understand the biological impossibility she was witnessing. "Ambassador Chen," she whispered. "Vexathala's stress hormones have dropped to levels we've never recorded. Its brain patterns are showing activity in regions we didn't even know existed. Whatever your daughter is doing, she's fundamentally changing this creature's neural chemistry." "She's being herself," Ambassador Chen replied softly. "She's showing Vexathala something that's been missing from its life for thousands of years." "Which is?" "Unconditional acceptance." Emma had finished her small braids and was now showing Vexathala pictures on her tablet, photos of Earth, her school friends, her family's garden. The dragon examined each image with fascination, asking countless questions about human customs, Earth animals, and why humans seemed to keep so many different creatures as companions. "This tiny creature," Vexathala said, pointing at a picture of Emma's cat. "It serves no tactical purpose, provides no protection, yet you care for it?" "That's what love is," Emma explained patiently. "You don't love someone because they're useful. You love them because they're special to you." "Special how?" Emma thought about this seriously. "Well, Whiskers is special because she purrs when she's happy, and she always knows when I'm sad. And Mr. Bubbles is special because he does little dances when I feed him. And Mommy and Daddy are special because they take care of me and read me stories and give the best hugs." "Hugs," Vexathala repeated slowly. "Physical affection as a display of emotional attachment." "Exactly. Here, I'll show you." Before anyone could react, Emma stood up and wrapped her tiny arms around the dragon's enormous snout in the best approximation of a hug she could manage. Her arms didn't even reach halfway around Vexathala's nose, but the gesture was unmistakable. Every alien in the corridor went rigid with shock. Even Ambassador Chen gasped. No being in recorded history had ever voluntarily embraced Vexathala the Crimson Death. The dragon went completely still, not even breathing. Emma held her awkward hug for several seconds, then pulled back with a satisfied smile. "See? Hugs are the best way to show someone you care about them." Vexathala stared at the child with an expression that transcended confusion and entered the realm of existential crisis. "You embraced me, willingly. Of course, you're my friend now. But I am the Crimson Death. I am the devourer of worlds. I am..." "You're Vex," Emma interrupted firmly. "And Vex is my friend who likes stories and has really pretty scales and gives good answers to questions." The identity crisis this created in the ancient dragon was visible to everyone present. Vexathala had defined itself by fear and destruction for so long that kindness and acceptance were literally rewriting its sense of self in real time. "Emma," Ambassador Chen said gently, "I think it's time for us to let our new friend rest. It's been a big day." Emma's face fell slightly. "Do we have to go? We were having so much fun." "I know, sweetheart, but Vex needs some time to think about everything that's happened." Emma turned to the dragon with concern. "Is that true? Do you need thinking time?" Vexthala nodded slowly. "Yes, little one. You have given me much to consider. Concepts I have never encountered require processing." Emma looked disappointed but understanding. "Okay, but we'll play again tomorrow, right?" "If you wish it." "I do wish it. Oh, but first—" Emma paused, looking suddenly shy. "Can I do something? It's what my family does when we say goodbye to people we really, really care about." Vexathala lowered its massive head closer to the child. "What is it you wish to do?" Emma took a deep breath, then stood on her tiptoes and pressed her lips gently to the tip of Vexathala's snout in the sweetest, most innocent kiss imaginable. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. Every single alien in the corridor froze in absolute shock. Mouths hung open, eyes bulged, and several beings simply fainted on the spot. Ambassador Jektar's tentacles went completely rigid. Dr. Rylan dropped her scanner with a clatter that echoed through the sudden silence. But it was Vexthala's reaction that truly shattered reality. The dragon's eyes filled with tears. Actual tears from the most feared predator in known space. They rolled down the creature's massive cheeks like liquid diamonds, each one larger than Emma's fist. "You kissed me?" Vexthala whispered in a voice so broken and wondering that it barely resembled the terrifying roar that had announced its arrival. Emma, completely oblivious to the historical significance of what she'd just done, simply smiled. "That's what you do when you love someone, and I do love you, Vex. You're the nicest dragon I've ever met." "I am the only dragon you have ever met." "That doesn't matter. You're still the nicest." Vexthala closed its eyes as more tears fell. In that moment, 3,000 years of rage, loneliness, and pain began to crack and crumble like an ancient dam finally giving way. "No one has kissed me since I was a hatchling," the dragon admitted in a voice barely above a whisper. "My mother, before the hunters came. I had forgotten that touch could be gentle." Emma's expression became fierce with protective anger. "Well, those hunters were really, really mean. But you don't have to be alone anymore because you have me now." She reached up and patted Vexathala's snout one more time. "Sweet dreams, Vex. Tomorrow I'll teach you how to play tag." As Emma skipped back to her mother, taking Ambassador Chen's hand with the casual confidence of a child who had just made a new friend, the corridor remained frozen in stunned silence. Ambassador Jektar was the first to find his voice. Did that human child just kiss the Crimson Death?" Dr. Ryland finished weakly. Yes, she did." "And it worked?" They all turned to look at Vexathala, who was still lying on the floor with tears streaming down its massive face, staring at the spot where Emma had disappeared around the corner. "It worked," the dragon said softly, voice filled with a wonder that resonated through the station's hull. "By all the stars in the void, it worked." Word of what happened in the diplomatic corridor that day spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. The story became legend, then myth, then fundamental truth. A human child had tamed the untamable with nothing more than kindness, friendship, and a single innocent kiss. but perhaps most importantly, it proved something that would reshape galactic civilization. That sometimes the greatest victories come not from strength or cunning, but from the simple courage to treat even the most fearsome creatures as worthy of love. And in her quarters that night, as Emma Chen drifted off to sleep clutching Mr. Snuggles, she dreamed of playing tag with her new dragon friend among the stars.